Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. I'm really happy that you clicked on this video and you are interested in learning how to maintain a clutter-free home.
I can feel your heart pound beating like a kick drum. Love it when I'm this drunk. Ooh, yeah, I can find.
But real quick before we jump into it, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below, as well as check out the description box, which has links to all of my social media, as well as my website, which has hundreds of more self-improvement, home, organization, productivity, etc. tips on it. So make sure that you check that out and subscribe. I'd love to have you join the community. So let's get going. You decluttered your house. You figured out everything in your house that does not spark you joy, and you either donated it, sold it, whatever. It's not in your house anymore. Awesome. How do you keep your house like this? How do you maintain a clutter-free house and make sure that you don't have to spend a week decluttering every single year? You need to make sure that you don't let the clutter get into your house, which is definitely easier said than done, which is why I made this video, and I wrote a blog post about it as well. I'll link that below. But it is so important to make sure that you do not let your house get cluttered again. It saves you so much time and it makes you be able to live in a more organized and clutterless house. So my first tip, and we're gonna break this down, is don't buy the clutter. That sounds obvious, right? But like, you don't realize frequently that you're buying the clutter until it's already in your house and then you're decluttering it. So a couple tips for making sure that you don't actually buy the clutter is, number one, avoid clearance racks. I am not telling you not to buy things on sale or to look for good deals for things that you need, but it is so tempting when you're at a store and you're like, okay, I just need 3 basic tank tops, and then you see the clearance rack and there's like some, maybe a little bit more stylish items, but not really because they're on the clearance rack. Chances are, if something is on the clearance rack, you don't necessarily need it. Again, I'm not telling you not to save money, but if you don't want clutter in your house, avoid the clearance rack, avoid the clearance section. Like, have you ever walked through the clearance section at Target and you're like, this random water bottle is so funny, I want it, it's only $4. Do you actually need another water bottle, or are you just buying it because it's $4? Okay. The second tip for actually not buying clutter is to don't go into stores that you don't need anything from. So like, let's say you got your groceries, you did great, and now there's a TJ Maxx right next door, and you're like, I'm just gonna pop in. I've done it, that's me. This is where this example is coming from, is that's me. And then I buy a whole bunch of stuff, or at least I used to buy a whole bunch of stuff that I don't actually need. So to make that not happen, I just can't go into those stores. I do occasionally go into a Home Goods because we just moved into our first house and we needed like a lot of stuff from Home Goods. But in general, don't go into a store that you don't need anything from. Don't just pop into the dollar store. Don't just pop into Target. Don't just pop into Walmart. If you don't actually have a reason that you need to purchase something from that store, don't go into it. And then the final sub-tip for this point is that you need to make sure that you have a game plan for everything that you need to buy. You hear a lot about the importance of making sure that you go to a grocery store with a grocery list, but make lists for all of your other shopping needs. If you are needing a certain clothing item, add that to a list. If you're going, back to school shopping for your kids, have a list. Figure out exactly what you need. If you are going to go get Christmas decor, have a list of Christmas decor pieces that you actually want to get. That'll help you from just catching and grabbing random things and that are just going to end up being clutter in your house. Tip number 2, have a constantly running donation bin. Guys, this is so important. Having a donation bin in your house that is, it can be a trash bag, it can be, one of those like big Tupperware bins, whatever it is, so that if your kid grows out of something and you don't have anyone else to hand me down to, then it just goes right into the donation bin. If you're, all of a sudden you're cleaning out something and you realize that you have a whole another bucket of Christmas lights that you forgot that you had and you bought new Christmas lights, whatever, it's fine. Just put it in the donation bin. Don't let it stay in your house. So if you have that constantly running donation bin, you don't have to worry about, okay, next time I declutter, I'll remember to grab this, because you might not, you know, so just have a constantly running donation bin. The third tip is planning out your shopping trips. I know that I briefly touched on planning out a shopping list, but also plan out the trip. Figure out exactly which stores that you're going to and what you need at those stores. You know, figure out, okay, do I actually need to go to 4 different stores, or can I just go to Target? Because if you minimize the amount of stores that you go into, you minimize the amount of things that you're probably going to buy, and it'll help you keep clutter out of your house. Be logical about your trips. Don't just necessarily also plan an entire day to go shopping. As fun as that is, that also leads to clutter, and it leads to things that you don't necessarily need. So make a game plan for your shopping trips and make it strategic. It's not the most fun thing, I get that, but if your goal is to keep clutter out of your house, then it's so helpful for making sure that you don't just pop into stores and just buy random things. Tip 4, don't buy more hangers or storage containers or dressers or whatever, unless you know you have like an actual reason, like you have another child, something like that. In general though, don't buy any more hangers, storage containers. All it does is enable you to buy more things than you need, because chances are the last time you decluttered, you figured out what you actually use and what you actually need. So if you find yourself needing more hangers or needing more storage containers, figure out, did something major in your life happen? Maybe you got a new job and you actually need a new type of clothing. That's totally fine. But in general, don't buy any more hangers or storage containers, because chances are that means that you have stuff in your house that you're not actually using. 5, during weekly cleaning, make sure that everything has its home. Meaning that when you're doing, I call it general cleaning, but when you're going through and you're just kind of picking everything up and making sure that everything is generally put away, make sure that everything actually has a home. Make sure that you're not just shoving and tucking something somewhere or just leaving it sitting on top of a dresser or a counter. Make sure that it has a home. And this is just something that you can easily do to make sure that you're not having new items that you necessarily didn't realize or did get brought into your house that are cluttering up your house and that are eventually going to get thrown away or donated or whatever in your next declutter. If you can catch them every week, then it stops your house from feeling cluttered, and it can really push off how long you have to go, or you can go, until your next decluttering. Everything in your house needs to have a home. It needs to have a spot that it belongs. If it doesn't have a spot that it belongs into, does it actually need to be in your house? Tip number 6 is about paper clutter. Stay on top of it. Papers are so small that you don't realize that they're so quickly cluttering up your house. This is especially true if you have children. You know that they bring home so many paper things from school. I mean, there might be an online school right now, but in general, for back when we're in precedented times again, staying on top of the papers that your kids bring in, papers that you bring in, mail that comes in, staying on top of that and not letting paper actually clutter up will make the decluttering so much easier. I recommend doing this just once a week, going through and looking. You know, most houses end up with like a, you know, whether it be your entryway or a table or wherever, you end up with like kind of stacks of random stuff that gets brought in, right? And a lot of it ends up being paper. So once a week, just go through it and make sure that all of that paper gets sorted through. You know, chances are a lot of it's going to get, you know, recycled, but if anything is important enough that you need to save it, then it needs to go into a filing system every single week. Alright, so I hope that these 6 tips did help you with trying to maintain a clutter-free home. I know that keeping clutter out of your house isn't always the easiest thing to do, but it'll save you a lot of time, effort, and it'll help you live in an environment that you like more if you actually can keep clutter out of your house. If the video was helpful, make sure that you subscribe and then check out the description box for my website as well as my social accounts. I would love to get to know everyone a little bit better, so give me a follow there, shoot me a message, leave a comment, anything like that. And I hope that everyone has a safe and wonderful day. Bye!
I want to be there and baby dance the night away. I let my hair down if I want. Don't you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Doesn't sound like fun. show you what a good time looks like.